Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Before we get into today's video, I'd just like to say that only about 20% of my viewers are subscribed. So if you're watching, please consider hitting the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. It helps the channel grow, it makes our voice a little bit louder, and it helps to spread the message. Thanks. And today's video is about the NHS. We have two interlinked stories. On one hand, there's the hospital that's stopping free parking for parents whose children are in hospital because they haven't got the money. It also affects the doctors and nurses who work there because they're losing their free parking. And on the other hand, we have an NHS that is wasting millions, untold millions, on woke wankery. You can't have it both ways. They constantly plead poverty, they want more and more taxpayers' money, they want that filthy lucre, and then they're wasting it. Something needs to be done. Anyway, let's look at these stories. First up, the parking, just to set the scene for the hypocrisy. Right, this is the first piece. It's only short, so it won't take long to get through it. But it sort of really highlights the cant and hypocrisy of the National Health Service. And it sort of shows up that dichotomy between needing money and wasting money. So, free NHS parking to be axed. Parents of sick children and the disabled may be hit with charges in a bid to save millions by the Department of Health and Social Care. Health Secretary Theresa Coffey's department is looking at cuts to save millions. It would go against the 2019 Conservative manifesto, which vowed to end unfair hospital car parking charges for those in greatest need. The savings plans would also affect doctors and nurses working night shift. The 2019 Conservative manifesto is one of the greatest works of fiction ever put to paper. Not only has most of it been abandoned, some of it's actually been done the complete opposite. So, don't hold much truck with Conservatives or Labour or the Lib Dems. In fact, I treat all politicians with equal contempt. Anyway, moving here. The parents of sick children and the disabled could lose free hospital parking under controversial new savings plans. The Mail on Sunday understands Health Secretary Theresa Coffey's department is looking at the cuts to save tens of millions of pounds. But the move, which would also affect doctors and nurses working overnight, has provoked a furious response from the nurses' leaders. Critics also pointed out it would fly in the face of the 2019 Tory manifesto, which vowed to end those fees, as I've said. Under current arrangements in England, hospital trusts must provide free parking for four groups: the disabled, outpatients with at least 3 hospital appointments in a month, hospital staff working night shifts, and the parents of sick children staying overnight. But a source told the Mail on Sunday that free parking was now under threat. One said they've got their eyes on this, even though in the terms of the overall NHS budget, it won't save that much money. No, they're actually doing this, and it won't, in terms of the budget, save sod all. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the NHS budget. But the cost to the individual people concerned, the parents of those children, the disabled, is immense. Because you're looking at £30 a day parking fees. And if you've got a child in hospital, long term, you can't afford £200 a week. It's you could be looking nearly £1,000 a month. You're being punished if your child is in hospital for any length of time, a time when you do not need that stress, that financial stress. So it is completely wrong. It is completely immoral. It is completely unethical. And I think whoever's making this decision needs to seriously look in the mirror and see what kind of person they are, because they are soulless. Last night, Pat Cullen, the Royal College of Nursing's General Secretary and Chief Executive, said ministers need to invest in nursing, not threaten to undermine it further. Yeah, I mean, what you're going to have is nurses who aren't, on great pay anyway, sitting there going, well, I'm not working nights anymore. I can't afford that. I can't afford, £80, £90 a week car parking fees. So what are you going to do to attract the nurses back into the profession? You're making it so that nurses cannot afford to be nurses. This is what's happening. I mean, if you're spending sort of £80 a week on parking as a nurse, it's £4,000 a year parking. You don't earn enough to warrant that. It's immoral. It's just disgusting. Anyway, last night, a spokesman for the Department of Health and Social Care said, "We're delivering on the manifesto commitment to provide free hospital parking to 1,000 more NHS patients and visitors, with every NHS trust implementing free car parking for those who need it most." And yet they're saying that because it's currently true, but up there, and they've said that they're currently looking at ending it to save tens of millions. Well, I know a way that would absolutely save the tens of millions they need, that wouldn't affect people, that wouldn't risk losing nurses at the NHS, that wouldn't put a financial strain on the parents of sick children, and would actually improve the image of the NHS. And we just need to look at this story. Socialised healthcare. The NHS is spending £40 million a year on diversity officers. That's £40 million a year on, effectively, people who contribute fuck all to society. Britain's socialised healthcare system, which is constantly complaining that it's in need of more cash, is reportedly splashing out more than £40 million a year on diversity and inclusion staff. According to the findings of the Freedom of Information request sent to all 223 NHS trusts and 42 integrated care boards of the NHS England, the Sun newspaper reports that there are currently 812 diversity officers, which cost the taxpayer some £40.7 million, nearly £41 million annually. These people do not contribute to healthcare. They are not the front line. They're not the doctors. They're not the nurses. They're not second line. They're not the ancillary staff, the admin staff, the maintenance men keeping the hospital running. No. These are just people with non-jobs who are taking cash from the taxpayer to sit there and tell people, you are an ist, you are a phobe, you failed to use the right fucking pronoun. These people need to be fired immediately. If they're that good at a job that they claim to be good at, give them an office somewhere. They can pay for their own office. They can pay for a plaque on a wall. And then they can sit there in their office all day. And people walking past can see that plaque on the wall. And if you're needed, they'll knock on your door and come in and pay you. I bet you don't get too many people knocking on your door. You are parasites. These people are parasites. The tabloid noted that the Sun would pay for the equivalent of 1.3 million GP appointments or hire 1,200 new nurses. The NHS needs way more than 1,200 new nurses, but that's a start. Fire these people. If they are totally useless as they are, they have got no business being in the NHS, no business being paid at taxpayers' funding. They are scum, honestly. The chief executive of the Taxpayers Alliance, John O'Connell, commented, taxpayers are losing patience with these right-on woke roles in the health service. Bossy bureaucrats are guilty of picking the pockets of working Brits to fund diversity demagogues instead of doctors and nurses. Health chiefs should focus on their precious resources on frontline services. And the report found that on average, each NHS trust has 3 diversity officers on a salary of $47,000 each. Each of them could get nearly 3 nurses. The pay increases with seniority, however, with one board recently advertising a senior equality, diversity and inclusion manager at the rate of $70,000 a year. They're $70,000 a year so that someone can sit there and go, yes, no, you're bad, you're an ist, you're a phobe, you've got to do this, put that plaque on the wall. You know, hey, give this money to Stonewall, give Stonewall $100,000 a year so they can come up here and let the mentally ill dictate how you run a hospital. What is wrong with these people? Fire every single one of the diversity officers and then fire any manager who hired them. These people are pissing money away and then charging the parents of children money to park their damn cars. This is disgusting. Now, while figures within the taxpayer-funded socialised healthcare system persistently make the public complaints about underfunding constantly, we haven't got enough money. Well, you're pissing money away on this shit, aren't you? Separate research from the Taxpayers Alliance revealed that the NHS was funding 493 staff networks, with some being used to propagate woke ideology within the health service. Now, the next line isn't going to surprise anyone. The Freedom of Information request found that LGBTQ plus networks, which represented the largest share of such schemes at 101 networks, conducted tea and rainbow cake events for healthcare workers and sessions to discuss preferred pronouns. The report found that the staff network scheme cost the taxpayer at least $1,081,000 over the past 3 years. However, the researchers noted that the true figure is likely to be much higher, given that less than half of the NHS trusts contacted and actually responded to the Freedom of Information requests. When pressed on what the purpose of staff networks were, the North Middlesex University Hospital Trust said they were formed to promote equality, diversity and inclusion through organising celebration and awareness-raising days and events. Screw that! Hire a fucking nurse! Nobody is sitting in a hospital going, oh, you're gay or you're black or that. They don't do that. They just don't. Nobody does it. And if you are gay or you are black or you are insert your chosen thing, you're aware of it. Everyone around you is aware of it. No one takes the piss. So they're wasting money on saying, well, we have to have a gay awareness. We have to have a lesbian awareness. Look, that strange mentally ill person over there who's a man but thinks he's a woman and wants us all to go along with his fucking mental illness. No, it doesn't happen. Oh, are you white? Oh, you're white. Oh, you're guilty, aren't you? You're white. You're guilty. That's what these people are doing. And they're getting paid 40 million a year out of our money, our taxpayers' money, to live a fucking life of Riley, telling us what awful people we are. Fuck them off. Let them go and get a real job. These people are tossers. Anyway, I've had enough of that. I'm coming up. I'm getting angry. Wankers. So there you go. On one hand, you have a department that is saying, oh, we're going to take money off the parents of sick children. We're going to take money off the disabled. Those people who don't really need to be, paying out this kind of money at that time of their lives. And we're going to take that money and we're going to give it to diversity officers. Nearly £41 million a year to diversity officers and millions onto little woke groups for gay people, for black people, for, minority groups and things like that. We're going to do all that because patient care is the least of our concerns. And we have a minister who smokes, who drinks, and by God, can she eat? She alone will end up costing the NHS millions probably, and she's sitting there and she hasn't got the balls to get rid of all the diversity officers, and she hasn't got the balls to say, actually no, I'm gonna stick with the manifesto and keep this plan. She hasn't got it. Why can't we have ministers who can actually do their jobs? Why have we got everybody who's involved in any kind of administration spineless and beholden to tiny little minority groups? Need to stop it. We absolutely need to stop it, and we need to put the money in the NHS where it's needed. Patient care, not diversity and inclusion. Nobody sits in a hospital and is anything other than grateful to be even seen by a doctor. It's bullshit and it's a waste of money, and these parasites need to be fired. And I'm done because I can feel bile rising. I'm going to be sick in my mouth. So I'm stopping. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't go to hospital, and goodbye.